Right, so as I mentioned, we're here with Hayley, and we've got, I just forgot your first name, Darryl.
That's right.
And Owen. And they've come. These are my special guests this week, to talk about homelessness and the way that we can help out. So, over to you guys. Hello and welcome. Hayley, you're up first.
Oh, thank you very much for having us, and good afternoon to all of your listeners today, and very privileged to be here. Thank you, Michael.
That's quite all right.
For this opportunity. So we are, there's three of us here today, and we're going to just basically be talking about an event we're running in Rockingham, the first event of its kind via the Salvation Army, raising funds for people struggling in Rockingham. We're doing a sleep out, similar to like a CEO sleep out style event in Rockingham on that Saturday, the 8th of October, in line with World Homelessness
Because
Week.
You've had experience with that already, haven't you? Because you did that a couple of years ago, the CEO one. And how did that go?
Yeah, we had a great response.
Yeah.
Rockingham is a very, very generous community. So we had a great response from that and raised, I think, just under or over 15K, I think we raised.
Cool.
And the most important aspect of that event was when we were sleeping rough on the streets, we realised how difficult it was, and it was only one night. And I think that highlighted a lot of the struggles that it's such a tiny, minuscule experience for us, but people experience that every day, and and how hard it is. So
I mean, because Owen, you've got personal experience with this. I mean, like Hayley says, one night is okay, but it doesn't really give you the true feeling of it, does it?
No, because at night times there's no toilets.
Yeah.
And you've got to get up when it's freezing cold to go and try and find somewhere out of somebody's way to go and do what you have to do. So that was the hardest of all.
Yeah.
And if you had to do other things, well, then there was no paper around, only the Sunday Times or the West Australian.
Yeah.
You know, and all those little things that people take for granted.
Yeah, of course, exactly.
These are the things that are lacking out on the streets.
So,
no, when we had the CEO sleep out, we had the guys that were on the streets guarding us, walking up the streets with us, telling other people to go away, leave us alone. Yeah, this is how protection of all our beautiful people are when it comes down when the push.
Because I think the sad part of that is that it's almost a community in itself, isn't it? Because you've got to look after each other. Right?
Well, it is a community.
Yeah.
My point always is that they are our community homeless.
Yeah.
At some stage they were working, some stage that they were married, some stage that they were really doing really well.
Yeah.
And then they fell through the cracks.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
they are our community ones. They vote for us.
Yeah.
They come to the Salvation Army in Rockingham there to get the love and to have a shower and do all those beautiful things that the Salvation Army has to offer.
Yeah.
Even counselling to talk, to get something off one's mind.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
Because we all have a lot of mental issues.
Yeah.
And to talk to somebody with confidence, which they do at the Salvation Army.
Yeah, of course.
It's wonderful for the people.
Yeah. And that brings us to you, Darryl. I mean, you've got obviously a lot of experience with this.
Yeah.
Probably good, bad and ugly. But you are such an advocate for this through the Salvation Army. How do you see it all panning out now with this rocket for Rockingham? What was it called?
Rough-It for Rockingham.
Rough-It for Rockingham.
Rough-It, and then the number 4.
Number 4, yeah.
Rockingham.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is an incredible opportunity, and I thank these guys for putting it together, and they approached us as a local organisation because their heart is to bless the people of our community and to build them up and to support them. So, we're happy to do that. We have a centre in Rockingham, as Owen's just talked about, and what we basically try to do is connect people, vulnerable people in a healthy community, and that's a task. Because there's all sorts of things going on for individuals, but to say, come and be part of something bigger, something special, and then we try to surround people with the services they need.
Yeah, of course, exactly.
And hope that over time they can be comfortable to access those. Yeah.
And I think, with the Rough-It for Rockingham, it's got the word Rockingham in it, and part of the reason for that is that we want to try and keep the funds for the vulnerable in Rockingham, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm sure Daryl can talk about how the demands for their services have increased over the past few months. And
so Hayley's put an ambitious goal of $75,000.
Very ambitious.
We're shooting high in this,
yes,
I think.
We are.
And, we're believing that, we're going to come close to this.
Yeah, and that's
if not exceed.
Yes.
If not exceed, confidence.
Yes.
So in Rockingham, there's currently... So we're part of a collective that signs up to a database which is called the by name list. So everyone is known by name, and it's people experiencing homelessness. So there's currently about 130 people that we know about, and they're on that database. And that's just the people we know about.
Yes, of course, that's exactly right.
That's a collective of maybe 4 or 5, 6 agencies that input into that. So we know there's a homelessness issue in our community, and it could be greater than we even know. But, recently we've seen, I suppose, people coming to us for support who are living in cars and with young children and living in tents in that same demographic. So, that to us, it's starting to become really concerning when we see that because, adults homeless is one thing, but children is another level.
And you're right, because that is the part of homelessness or street people that people don't realise exists as well, right? I mean, there's more and more of that. The single parents who are living in cars or with kids is just incredible in this day and age.
It's well documented now, in the last few 6 or 8 months, the housing affordability has, the cost of housing has just skyrocketed, and it leads to problems.
Yeah, of course it does.
So we're seeing the results of that.
All right. Oh, look, I know we're going to continue talking, but we're going to play a song because I've got a song lined up here which Owen has said is one of his favourites. And part of the reason for that is it's a Johnny Cash song, Walk the Line. And you like that song because it resonates, right?
Absolutely, because all of us that are doing social works and Christian organisations, we're on the front line. We put ourselves out in front of everyone, and we've got to be prepared to take a lot of the hard knocks.
Yeah.
So Johnny Cash is like Walk the Line, which we all do, and we all do it with a great passion, with a heart of gold, and we will look after the vulnerable and the neglected people
of course.
In our society.
So here we have Johnny Cash. This is Walk the Line. Yeah, so there you have Johnny Cash there with Walk the Line. So now we're back with our trio, and Hayley, Owen and Daryl, so we're going to talk a little bit more. Now, obviously there is a goal to this. We mentioned the cash goal as well, or the funds, I should say, through Salvation Army and everything else. But it's that awareness aspect as well, right?
Yeah, I think so. With events like this, it is raising awareness of the struggles that people are facing in our community, and the more people that know about it, I think, are more inclined to even investigate about it more and learn more about it, and maybe be a bit more, I suppose, sensitive to that issue and be willing to do something. We were talking earlier before we got here about, to make changes in our society, it generally starts from a grassroots initiative, and the more people that we can get involved at this level, you never know where that's going to lead, and hopefully we're hoping this will become an annual event, and year on year grow and grow and grow, and it is a community event, and it creates community connectedness and help raise awareness for those doing it tough in our community.
Sure. I think the timing of it is to do with Homelessness Day every year, right? Because that's roughly around 10th of October?
Yeah, so there's an international day that's recognised internationally, obviously, and it's called World Homeless Day, and that's celebrated on the 10th of October every year. Yeah. So we thought we'd align our sleep out with that to obviously gain more impact in our community and help raise awareness throughout our beautiful community in Rockingham.
Of course. So, Owen, I mean, obviously there has to be a venue, but we don't talk about where the venue is just yet, and there's a reason for that, right?
Yeah, well, that's right, because it's held at a business where people come 24 hours in the day.
Yeah.
So we've got to keep that to a minimum until the actual time comes, you know, and then it'll be open to the public to come through. And of course, pardon me, we'll have people there in place to protect those premises in that area, which was all volunteering.
Yeah.
And my little bit of out around Rockingham has certainly brings some people to the up and up and gets.
So are you still doing your 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock walk-arounds?
No. I've had to lay back in there because I've had responsibilities of my own family members.
Okay.
Granddad.
Yeah.
You know, so I have to knock that on the head. But I still do a lot of phone calls. I still go out there and I always have a bootload of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if anybody anywhere who's short asks me, I just freely give it away.
No, okay.
To everyone, you know, and going back on homelessness, you know, back in 2014, I had the greatest pleasure of taking Daryl and an old guy, Bevan, and another guy, and old Morton York, that's now past us, the Indigenous guy, that, you know, we had to send an inquiry in Perth under Scott Loveland. And I not only opened the paper the other day and I've seen our portraits in the front of that paper handing documents over. And the greatest thing of Daryl at the Salvation Army was so gracious to us to accompany us on that pilgrimage that we had one out of about 28 modules. I think we got one passed.
Yeah, right.
And that was bringing Centrelink, Medicare, and all that in together into one building.
Yeah,
and that's what happens now. So that's out of the pilgrimage for homelessness. You know, and that was going back then. There was about 65 people living on the foreshore. You know, and several other people in the bush and stuff like that.
Yeah, no,
so out of that, we're here back in 2022.
Yeah.
I think we're worse off than what we were back in 2014.
Yeah, right. Wow.
You know, and Scott Loveland, the senator then, was absolutely brilliant because he brought that to fruition. You know, made it now, and I'm very proud to be once again rubbing shoulders with the great man of the heart of Rockingham.
Yeah.
The heart of Rockingham is called the Salvation Army.
Yeah.
And we are the rivers that come into the heart. Every week we will have that same path into the heart. And this is what I call the rivers into the major sea.
Yeah.
So this is what here. But out of all of that, we haven't learnt much.
Yeah.
But it's becoming a social housing problem worse now than ever before.
Yeah.
I can't blame any governments. I can't blame anybody, but I can see the stress that is caused. And when there's children in the car.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. You know, because what I look at it is this. You don't know what's happening out there until it's raised, the awareness is raised. You guys know about it. You guys do as well. And that's what we're doing here, right, is to... People live in cars, for crying out loud. I mean, it's the 21st century. We shouldn't be doing that anymore.
Yeah. I think, you know, what Hayley was talking about with building awareness is worth far more than the funding. And I think that, you know, the funding will be great. And I did talk about it before, but the awareness, the bringing together of community, you know, building healthy community is really important. And when we build the vulnerable in our community, it actually lifts the whole community. And I firmly believe that. And so, you know, I just think an event like this would be great. And it is one night. We all get to go home afterwards. But it's still something, you know, it kind of impacts people's heart, I think.
Yeah, and I think the more people you get to volunteer to come down and take part in that, it just makes them go, you know, this is just one night, and I can't cope.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, Haley, you've been there. You were there 2 years ago, right, with the CEO one.
And I think Owen raised a really good point before about safety.
Yes.
So the safety aspect for people sleeping on the streets is, you know, a real concern. And even when you go to Perth and things and you see people sleeping in the archways and under lights, it's because it's safe and they're visible. So there's all these things that you don't even consider until you probably experience something similar.
Exactly
and I mean,
right.
we're doing this by choice.
Yeah.
People don't have a choice. So you know, it's probably twofold. You know, it's raising awareness, but then realising, you know, it's one decision away for a lot of people, or one paycheck away for a lot of people being in that situation.
Exactly.
And I think that's really important to remember.
You're right, because to me, that's the biggest point to get to stress to people, because it can happen to anybody.
Can happen to anybody.
And the biggest part about it all there too, Michael, is that what touches me the most this year, of all the times that I've been doing, because I'm only 28 years clean and sober myself. 28 years, a long time, and I started off at the Salvation Army in Rockingham, my first meeting, right? So the biggest heartache for me is children.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you.
That's the biggest heartache. You know, going back a few years ago, there was not many children in the cars. Now we've got a mother that's maybe have 5 children.
Yeah.
There's one child that's sick. Where's she going to put her other 5 children to go to the hospital? Mm-hmm. You know? Yep. So out of our awareness of what we're trying to achieve here, our major goal is 75,000 plus, is that for $400 we can clothe a child with uniforms, shoes and a lunch bag, pay for their education for 1 year, so that that child, no matter who it is, doesn't matter, can go to school, get dropped off by car with mum or dad and walk into school without walking of shame.
Yeah, it's a head held high, right?
And head held high, because they have a uniform, doesn't have to be clean, but at least they have a uniform to go to school with a pair of shoes.
Yeah, no,
you know,
that's right.
And once back to the Salvation Army again, is that they have a wonderful system to shower, to clean, to have clean clothes. They can come at any time, and the cost is nothing to come and do those, so that the families can have all their clothes done, look nice and clean, and go out and have that pride of Rockingham, Kwinana, Mandurah, even Fremantle. Yeah. Which I do a lot of stuff here as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the big key here, is the fact that, yes, we're talking about Rockingham, but it can be anywhere, right? It could be, as you said, Kwinana, could be here in Freo.
It's at everyone's front door.
Correct, exactly.
And they don't cry wolf until it happens to one.
Yeah.
You know, and if it wasn't for the Salvation Army to be there, to have that strength of that arm to pull them up, there'd be nowhere else to go.
So, Darryl, as far as the Salvation Army is concerned, how do you guys communicate amongst the community? So, for an example, what you guys are doing now with the Rockingham programme, could we do it here in Fremantle, for example?
Yeah, well, this is something that's sprung up from, you know, really a leader in our community with Hayley, and in partnership with Owen. Like, anyone could stand up and say, you know, we want to do something. And I think bringing people together, you know, they invited us into it, and I think, you know, we happily accepted. Yeah. But, you know, inviting people in, bringing people together is really important. And I think, good. You know, it just takes some leadership in the community and people with courage to stand up and say, this is not good enough.
Yeah. Okay, so you're hearing it first hand here, Freo. Get yourselves together. Let's find that leader, and let's see if we can do the same here as what the people are down in Rockingham, because they're doing a great job. Now, we are going to come back and have a couple of minutes chat with the team. But firstly, we've got a record for Hayley, who's a slightly different genre to Johnny Cash. This is, for what reason, Hayley?
Nirvana.
Yeah.
Well, we're in Fremantle, and I am sure there are a lot of grungy people in Fremantle that will relate to me.
In a nice way, of course.
In a nice way, yeah.
That's right. Well,
like
here it is.
In the 80s.
Yeah, this is Nirvana. Come as you are. Right, we're back on the air. We're talking with Darryl, Owen and Hayley, and we're going to wrap it up in a couple of minutes. But again, everybody, get your hands in your pockets. Go to
www.roughit4, and it's the number 4, rockingham.org. So www.roughit4rockingham.org.
Right, it means you can make a donation there. And just be generous, because
there's a few different things, if I can interrupt.
Yes.
So you can make a donation. You can actually sign up to run a fundraising page. So you sign up as an individual. You can create a team if you want to.
Okay.
So any businesses out there can create a team with their team members, and everyone signs up to their team. You have a little competition about who raises the more money, and you can sign up for the event, or you can do all of that. So there's options.
Yeah, great team building exercises for businesses as well, and giving back to the community. So I think that's a really important point that Darryl makes.
Yeah, and that's the way that it should be, because what we want to do is to get this to cascade to other communities. Rockingham are taking the lead on this, but there's no reason why we can't do that here in Fremantle. And 107.9 Fremantle Radio, will be advocates for anybody who wants to help out. Any last points you'd like to make?
Yes, it's not only about the money, it's about hygiene and cleanliness in the community.
Mm-hmm.
It's if you have a sleeping bag, if you have a cake of soap, if you have some shampoo, if you have some knit cleaners and all that type of stuff, please don't hesitate to put that in a small parcel.
Yeah,
and donate that as well, because they're the more important than money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hygiene. We're going to look at something very serious in about 5 years' time through living on the streets. So we have to have that hygiene in a good area.
Yeah.
You know, and those little parcels, like Share the Dignity does, you know, can be dropped off at any destination. I've got 3 destination points in Rockingham City. Of course, there's a destination point at the Salvation Army.
Yeah.
Where people can come in there and keep their anonymity to themselves and do a privately little thing to give it, because it's not all about money. We have to have money to keep things functioning, yes, but it's other little bits and bobs.
Donations, that's right.
That come into it. You know, there's women's stuff.
Yeah.
Because out in the streets, there's no hot water.
Yeah.
So how does a woman clean herself?
Yeah.
You know, and all the other little things that go in there as you like to use yourself, which is neglected.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see a little bit more of that. And like Freo Dockers, if you're listening, to Fremantle here, please come on board, because we have all cultures of people that are coming in, and such a diversity of people that are coming through our doors and asking us for a little bit of help, you know. So we have to get behind everything like that to bring in, so it makes everything go around.
Exactly, and it's a community-based thing, so thanks for that, Owen. Hayley?
I just really want to say thank you to you, Mike.
Oh, shucks.
No, thank you so much for having us here today and giving us the opportunity to speak to your listeners and help us raise awareness, because we met a few years ago and you've always gotten behind things like this, and it takes people like you to shine a spotlight on events like this that actually are going to help more than you probably realise. So I just really wanted to say thank you, and Freo is very lucky to have you.
Thank you. Well, you heard it here first, everybody. Darryl, you got a final word?
Thank you. I think Hayley summed it up brilliantly. Thank you.
No, that's it. It's brilliant. And just thank you for coming down. Now, I'm going to be away up until the point of the event, but maybe we can get together again after the event and talk about how it's gone and what might cascade out of that. How about that?
That'd be fantastic, and we'll tell you about all the huge amounts of money that we've raised.
Oh, absolutely. Get your hands in your pockets, everybody. And thank you to Hayley, Owen and Darryl. And we're going to go out with... these guys are going to leave just now, but I'm going to put some Lady Gaga on. This is Born This Way.